Let's use common logarithms, and that means you're going to need a calculator. So a common log generally refers to as base 10. So what you're going to see is like log of 6. We would call this a common log. If there is no base given, then it's automatically base 10. Okay, so if we would have a log of x, that is, let me use an equal sign because it means the same as log of x base 10. So that's something that you're going to want to keep in mind, that if you do not see a base, it's automatically base 10. And here x is greater than 0 because remember, the argument of a logarithm must be positive. So remember, our basic law of logs means log of x base b equals y if and only if b to the y equals x. So this is how exponentials and logarithms are kind of worked together, and we're going to kind of play with this here in a minute. But that also means that if we just have the log of x equals y, because that's base 10, that means we would have 10 to the y equals x. Because, remember, base b, so if we have a base of 10 and there's no base, right, automatically common log base 10. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is think through base 10 and what that means. So in letter A here, we're going to evaluate these. I have log of 100 equals y. Well, think about this in an exponential way. We know that the base, if there's nothing there, is a 10. So this means I have 10 to the y power equals 100 by definition of logarithms. Okay, so think about this. 10 to what power is 100? Well, 10 times 10 is 100. 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000, so on and so forth. Every time we multiply by another value of 10, we get another 0 at the end of our answer. So in this first case, 10 squared gives us 100, so y equals 2. I also like to say, well, if I have 2 zeros, that means y is 2. Now again, this only works for common logs when our base is 10. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Log of 10,000 equals y. Okay, so we know that this is a common log because we have no base given. So this would be 10 to the y equals 10,000. So you can either go through this process of how many tens does it take to get 10,000. In this case, it's 4, or you can use my cheat method and say there are 4 zeros in this common log, and therefore y is 4. Okay, great. That makes life really, really easy when our argument is a power of 10, or a factor of 10. But what happens when they're not? And this is where the idea of your calculator comes in, okay? It doesn't come out nicely to say 10 to the y equals 75. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's somewhere between 1 and 2, and that's about as close as I can get. And therefore, we're going to use our calculator. Now, in your calculator, you should have an LOG button. So because of base 10, your calculator is in base 10 automatically. That's how they are coded. So if you have a common log base 10, you can simply hit log. Mine shows up then with a parenthesis. I type in 75 end of the parenthesis, and then I hit enter or equals, depending on your calculator. And that's going to spit out a 1.875061263. Goes on and on and on and on and on. These are not so great. Let's round to the nearest hundredths for our rounding purposes. So it's between 1 and 2. Did I not say that? I did. Okay, nearest hundredth. So 1, 2, I'm looking at my 7. That means I go one place past. 5 tells me to round up. So I know that y is going to be rounded to 1.88, rounded to the nearest hundredths. 1 and 88 hundredths. Okay, do the same thing for a log of 124. So we're going to type in, hit the LOG button, 124, end parentheses, and then enter. And this time you should get 2.093421685, blah, 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 blah. Again, to the nearest hundredth, that's a 9. 3 tells me to round down, 2.09 for my value of y. Now, before we sign off, I want you to think through this because a lot of times we are so focused on just typing things into our calculator and accepting the answer. Remember the idea of the tens, right? So we know, actually, let me go to a blank screen. We know that the log of 100 equals 2, and I know that the log of 1,000 equals 3. So that means any log between 100 and 1,000 falls somewhere between 2 and 3. I know anything, so log of 10 is 1, log of 100 is 2. So anything between 10 and 100 as a common log is going to be between 1 and 2. So when you think about the problem we just did, log of 124, that's just barely above 100, so my answer should be just above 2. And that's exactly how it works. So don't let those commonalities or the things that you know leave your brain while you're working through this. Keep these things in your mind to help you make sense of, does my answer work and does it make sense? That is important.